I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop.
This episode is brought to you by TaxAct. Don't do your taxes alone. Join TaxAct's National Admin Night. Admin nights are social gatherings for getting through your to-do list. So get ready for a night of fun, finding deductions, and filing taxes with TaxAct, where you can file your federal and state return for just $49 through April 8. Let's get together and get them over with. Visit taxact.com/admin-night for details.
This episode is brought to you by Fandango. People say fans are too distracted these days, but the truth is, when a great movie hits the screen, you show up, you stay glued, invested, part of the story. And without fans like you, there'd be no cinema magic, no shared moments. So head to Fandango.com to get tickets, stream, or rent or buy top movies and series. Fandango loves fans.
I feel like I lived one big era of my life and now I'm on to something completely different. And I think as someone in my mid-30s that I could have multiple circumstances like that in life just because you made a big decision. Now doesn't mean you're married to it, that you could make a big life change. And within a full year, I'm in a very different place and it feels awesome.
I love that. I love that reminder that we can reinvent ourselves in such a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. Always a great feeling to know that is possible. It's just one part of an inspirational and actionable conversation with today's guest, Heidi Niklaus, a former education administrator who ditched her comfortable life in New Jersey to embark on a solo trip, which was the catalyst to a life of travel, which she is currently living. And it also led her to discover her passion for fitness. Travel has a knack for that, in my experience, helping to reveal passions. Anyway, in this episode, you're going to get Heidi's ultimate fitness bucket list, amazing adventures to seek out for a variety of fitness levels, including a mix of different activities and places where you can experience unforgettable natural phenomena, for example. You're also going to get practical strategies for maintaining fitness routines while traveling, trying to find that balance between indulgence and wellness, always tricky, and how combining your passions with travel can create those transformative experiences out on the road and, frankly, when you come home. So if that weren't enough, I'm also going to share with you, this is unbelievable. I recently made the ultimate travel blunder. I'm talking about the ultimate travel blunder. So this is going to be sort of a PSA, a public service announcement, so this doesn't happen to you on your next trip. All of that and more happening right now. So buckle up, strap in. Thanks for being here. And welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. As you heard at the top, Heidi is here from HeidiRunsAbroad.com. You can check out her work over there. We'll link up to it. And her mission is to, quote, inspire movement and adventure. I love that. And fear not, if you're not super active. You know, Heidi, she hasn't always been a fitness nut. In fact, quite the opposite. You're going to hear about that part of her journey in this conversation. A lot of takeaways in this one. Before we dive in, don't forget to stick around on the back end. I really did make the ultimate travel blunder, and that's not an exaggeration. And I'll share that story And a bit of a warning for you, just in case you have a trip coming up, to not repeat the same mistake I did. Don't forget also over at zerototravel.com/newsletter, we have a free newsletter you can sign up for over there to keep in touch off the pod. And one last thing, I haven't announced this yet, but since by the time this show goes out, I will have announced this to my newsletter. I have a physical product that I made. I've been working on it for over a year. It's called the Being Box Method, and it's a way that you can transform your smartphone habits at home. I was tired of kind of getting on the phone all the time. I wanted to take back my time, fill it with more of what I love. And those days when I was using my phone too much, I just felt like crap. So I created the Being Box Method, and I've been testing it, and we've been getting great results. Anyway, doing a Kickstarter on that coming up soon. I only have about 100 of them in the States right now, and you can reserve one for just $1 at the link in the show notes. But if you're driving and you need a link, it's beingbox.helpinghumansbeing.com, and you can reserve one for just $1 there. Support the project, and in fact, the first group that gets the Being Box Method, I'm going to be working closely with. So we're going to do a bit of a community type of thing. Want to make sure everybody gets good results and takes action. And I think that this is one of those decisions when you decide to cut down your screen time. It's like a domino effect. It just improves every aspect of your life, your sleep, your focus, your productivity, and on and on and on. So hope you check it out. Thanks for listening. And now let's slip and slide into this interview, and I will see you on the other side, my friend. Cheers.
Hey. Dâng cây.
Heidi Niklaus, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you reaching out as a listener, and you kind of we were trading some emails, and I said, wait a minute, Heidi's got some cool stuff going on. We got to pull her onto the pod. So I appreciate you taking the time. And of course, you have this epic list for us today, which I think will be a fun thing that we can share to build the conversation around. But before we get into all that, we got to learn how you ended up in Sofia, Bulgaria. a gal from Central Jersey all the way to Bulgaria. What is going on? What do your Central Jersey folks think?
Oh, man. Well, my mom misses me. Let's see. Well, I lived in Central Jersey my entire life. And so this is something very new for me, but also feels very natural. It feels like home, like immediately. So I say the long story short. Yeah. I ended up meeting a Bulgarian man. And now he's my partner. So that's the reason for the gravitational pull. But then about a year ago, when I started talking to him about the visa process, he asked me, well, do you want to live in Sofia? Do you like it here? Yeah, no, I love it. It's great. Like the people are great. I love the city. I love, honestly, not having a car. I love walking everywhere and taking the metro. I love living in Europe. It's so much fun. So from Central Jersey to Sofia, I worked in higher education for about 11 years. Rutgers University. It's a really very large university in Central Jersey. And are you familiar with Rutgers?
Of course. I'm from the Philly area. So
yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I was in the big hub, the New Brunswick campus, and I grew up about 30 minutes driving from there. So I went to get my undergrad degree there. I stayed there for my master's degree. I worked in housing and residence life. So I oversaw the dormitories, if you will. We call them residence halls. I did that for about 10 years. And then long story short is after the pandemic, with a lot of change, I was not really able to move up when I was hoping to. And so I then actually just decided to leave. And I took a long 4.5 month solo trip, mostly around Europe. I spent 2 months in the Balkans. I tried couchsurfing for the first time. Have you ever been couchsurfing?
I've hosted some people.
Yeah. So I did that for 3/4 of my trip. I met this very lovely man in Sofia, who was my host. And then later I went back and he was my friend. And that was fun spending more time with him. When I got back in the States for a couple of months, I realized that I did not need all of this stuff. And so I started selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace and just downsizing a lot. And I wanted to pick one city to live in for 3 months. And I really liked Sofia. And so I ended up going back there. And pretty quickly, like my now partner, he and I got together. And shortly thereafter, started looking in the visa process. And I think I'm finally honing in on being close to actually being able to live there full time, because right now I've just been using all of my tourist Schengen time there and traveling when I haven't been around. Yeah, I absolutely love living there.
Okay. What a story. Couch surfing. You're not the first one to, I think, find love through couch surfing. It's, when I was first started traveling, couch surfing wasn't a thing. And so I kind of feel like I missed the couch surfing wave. So I got to get out and do some couch surfing at some point. But it seems like in some ways, of course, this is from the outside looking in at your story, you're from Central Jersey, as we talked about, working at Rutgers, like keeping everything local. It feels like maybe you were on that track to just stay local. Was the 4-month solo trip just like hey, I'm just going to break out, I want to go see some things? Or was the intention of that trip like open-ended in the sense that, okay, this is a 4-month trip, but this might be the start of a new version of my life? Or did it turn into that as you were on the trip?
Yeah, I think leading up to that trip, even like my last full year working at Rutgers, I was an interim director, and that's the role I was hoping to keep, but just wasn't able to, just given a lot of transition. And so during that year, I was just having this itch for long-term travel, just to travel a little bit more slowly, just like, why go someplace for like a week or two, come back and just, then be back in the grind, but just to spend a longer chunk of time on the road. So then when I left my job, I was wondering if I should start job searching right away. And at first it was, maybe I'll travel for like a month or two. And then I said, you know what, let me just do a lot longer. And so it was, ended up being 4.5 months. And I was not sure what I was expecting to do when I got home. The last few weeks of my trip, I was starting to feel a little bit anxious. Oh gosh, do I have to go back? And should I start job searching immediately? And I think I really liked then and also like now kind of living a bit more in the uncertainty, which is very difficult, I will say, to do, especially, for a lot of folks, traditionally speaking, at least in America, love the security of you have a full-time job, you have that financial stability, you know what to expect. And I kind of liked playing it by ear. And it's nice that I was just able to, even when I was finishing up my trip. I think I'm going to maybe take more of like a gap year, just gig myself a little bit longer, because I didn't feel like I wanted to jump into commit to being in one location, having a job, and that was it, and starting something new. So it was a little bit more open-ended in that capacity. Not necessarily, I was not expecting to end up within the year, I'm going to go move to Europe.
Yeah, I think that's after you cut ties on certain things, like a job is a great example, and then you have that freedom and flexibility. You're like, all right, well, I have this now. Maybe I should take a bit more advantage of it because I've already, kind of cut loose.
Do you want to hear another twist?
Oh, yeah, sure. We love twists. Yeah.
Just when it comes to, things happening in life. So I was married. And I still very good friends with my ex-husband. He actually has our 2 cats in America. He and his new partner, they actually just got a house. He texted me this video of a walkthrough of their house yesterday. And so when I was finishing up my last year working at Rutgers, he and I think, we're still in a really good place. And it was really great that I said, hey, I want to go travel for 4.5 months. I did ask him if he wanted to come with me. And he's like, I should probably stay at my job. He did join me in Iceland for about a week and a half, which is great. But it's also during that time that I kind of felt like when I got home, we ended up having a conversation where we still love each other, but kind of felt like I think we were a little bit more best friends, which we are now. But I think we were maybe still missing something a little bit here and there. So we ended up separating. And then it was then later on, we were actually living in my mom's basement. When I worked at Rutgers, I had free housing. So I oversaw the residence halls. I had an apartment there. I had free housing for like 10 years. Very interesting lifestyle. It's not necessarily for everybody because I had college students knocking on my door crying while cooking dinner sometimes. And so when I left my job, we went to go live with my parents. We were in my parents' basement. And when I was on this trip, he was living there with my mom. And I came home and we ended up having our conversation about getting separated. We still stayed roommates for 2 months. Then I went to Bulgaria. He ended up getting another relationship. I was back in the States for 2 months. We were still roommates. And then I went to go travel more indefinitely. And then he ended up, my mom is renovating the house. So she's like, I love you, but you have to leave because they're looking to sell the house. So then he went to go live with his parents and now he's moving in with his new partner. So very interesting how life changed. Yes, but I say that that's also another layer. I get to, I'd say, be very blessed and grateful the fact that even though we were married for 5 years, together for 8.5, that we're still like really good friends. But that was also another interesting, I'd say, transitional. There's a lot that happened in my year of being 33. A lot of transition.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's more than just a side note layer.
Yeah. There's another big twist. Yeah.
When you were going into the trip, just the last question around that, I guess I'm wondering, did you have an inkling that this was going to be a contemplative period for you for assessing your relationship? Or did you feel like, oh, we're on good terms, this is just something I need to do for myself? And then it kind of evolved into that. I'm just curious for anybody listening that's maybe part of a couple and they just feel like they want to go take a solo trip for themselves. That's not to always break up your relationship, but just if you feel like you need that space, life is short. I mean, ask for it. Negotiate it with your partner.
So I left in July, I came back end of November. And so in December, that's when he and I were sitting down and having this conversation. It was about a year before where I was like, I'm not sure if this is like forever. Like, I think I'd be so happy with him. He treats me like a queen and like we have so much fun together. We're best friends. It was on my mind though, kind of wondering. And he and I talked a lot about this. When I went on my trip, it was something where, I was like, this is something I definitely need to do for myself. And love this man so much. How many partners would say, okay, you need to do this. I know you well enough that I think this is something you need to do. I've been talking about it for a while. It's like, oh man, dude, if we didn't have our 2 cats, we'd quit our jobs and we would just buy a one-way ticket. And he's like, yeah, and then travel for the year. Like, why are you saying for a year? Anyway, so it was more just an experience I knew that I wanted to have. And I felt like I was in a space. I loved working at Rutgers. One of my cats, his name is Rutgers. I literally named my cat after the school. I ride or die, love that school. And then I ended up leaving, which was a surprise to a lot of people, but not a surprise because, they knew that I kind of just was in a position again where I couldn't really move up. And of course, she's going to go take an awesome trip. And so I felt like I really needed to do it for myself. And it was actually when we reconnected in Iceland, we had so much fun when we were together on this trip. And I think it actually was around then when I was like, I feel like this is something that we need to talk about. Because the best way I could describe it to people is that, I always hope to be in a romantic relationship where that person's my best friend, but I also want there to be some more pieces to it. And I kind of felt like he's my best friend, but I feel like there's still something missing. And I think even when he and I were talking about it, he also was kind of feeling similarly. I think the last year, the direct role I was in was very challenging and it was very stressful. But I think we can both look back on it now and I think appreciate that we didn't stay together longer than we needed to because we thought we should. That was another thing is I felt like we could have tried longer in our relationship. We already gone to couples counseling for 6 months previously, and it's helpful. Our therapist was kind of funny in like a strange way. And so I felt like we could have been trying for longer, but then when he and I were talking about it, I'm like, yeah, but do you think we would have tried for too long and it would have reached a point of like bitterness and maybe we wouldn't have what we have now? We worked really hard to be communicating all throughout this post-separation conversation, this transition period. And I think we communicated a lot and really well. Hey, I'm feeling kind of weird about this right now. If we talk about it, yeah, sure. To get to where we are right now, we just get to be best friends. It's kind of, my parents are cool with it. I think his parents, maybe I think they still think it's a little bit strange. It is kind of strange. A lot of my friends think it's strange. So I'd say with the trip, it was really just it's coming from a space of, I just knew I need to do it for myself. I wanted to do it and I felt like I could, and I didn't want to miss an opportunity because I felt like I shouldn't be doing something like that now or for these certain restrictions. And I think just to kind of sum up that, I've talked with a couple of my friends about this, that I feel like I lived one big era of my life and now I'm onto something completely different. And I think as someone in my mid-30s that I could have multiple circumstances like that in life just because you made a big decision. Now doesn't mean you're married to it, using it more as a generic verb, but also because it fits a situation, that you could make a big life change. And within a full year, I'm in a very different place and it feels awesome. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great takeaway. I think that we know that, but it's also a great reminder that you can literally write a new chapter of your life at any moment. And you do. It's like a pleasure. You get to live this. You get to sort of live multiple lives within one life if you choose to. And that's a lovely thing. We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop. Now, back to the show. So let's talk fitness, which is your passion. And you've been able to combine your passion for fitness with travel, which I always love when people are able to mash up. I call it passion mashing,
I love that.
The travel, the fitness in your case is the passion mashing. We're going to get into some tips and get some of your advice and of course this list, but I'm wondering what you want people to walk away from this episode with in terms of sort of like mindset, practical stuff. What were you kind of thinking as we get into this topic?
I say first things first, seeing it briefly, like growing up, I was not healthy at all. That really changed for me very gradually, where I avoided running even when I was doing sports. I became a field hockey goalie because I didn't like to run. And then later I started trying to do a 5K. I trained for a first half marathon and then had an injury and I found group fitness. So I think just kind of going back to when you're talking about having different eras and chapters of life, that for folks that maybe kind of feel that way now, just knowing that that can also be a really big change for you, is if you feel like you want to elevate or just highlight your physical wellness journey, that you can start from now and make a really big change. And so I think for me, just over time, I've been a group fitness instructor for about 8.5 years. I absolutely love it. It's with this company called Les Mills. It's essentially fitness choreographed to music, if people are not familiar. So I teach a weightlifting class, a core class, a yoga-based class, and a mixed martial arts class. And it's all to music, which is really fun. And so I'd say for me, since I was an instructor and I had a consistent schedule, I then felt when I was traveling that I needed to be still moving. And I think I had developed this like itch for needing to have movement every few days, or otherwise I would just get very stir crazy. I will say it also came, at least back then, from a pain place of that motivation coming from like body image issues, which I know is, can be very difficult for folks. And it's something I still struggle with a little bit on the side. But I'd say that when it comes to being on vacation, a few things. One, FOMO is a really big issue. People want to go around and see all the sites. And so with that, you're squeezing in so many different pieces to an itinerary. When might you go to a gym in a foreign country, or just even find some space, physical space, literal space, like in your hotel room to be exercising? It can be very difficult. And I think that because you're cramming so many things in, that it can be difficult to prioritize that time. And I know that a lot of times, secondly, people just want to relax. maybe when they're on vacation. So I'd say, everyone might be in a different space when it comes to how much even at home they might try and exercise, which that's already very difficult to have a routine when you're at home, just trying to be physically well, exercising and stretching and such. So I think the two things fitness-wise that I'd want to leave with folks, intentional exercise versus just being physically active to enjoy the area. If folks are inclined to intentionally exercise, I'm going to go on a run for the sake of, I want to work out. I want to go to a gym. I want to lift weights. You're really there for the purpose of exercising. That may not be for everyone abroad, but I'd say if you like going to the gym at home, it's really not that different if you go abroad. A lot of folks speak English or speak English well enough. You could use Google Translate. Hey, how much is the day pass? And you can go and you can use the equipment. And that might also be an interesting experience to see what a gym might look like in a different place. But I'd say secondly, the one that might be more applicable to the larger audience, just finding something physically active to do to explore the area. You might be inclined to do that anyway. Like if you're going to a place where there's a lot of mountains and you like to hike, you're probably going to go hiking. But if you're in an area, like when I was in Stockholm, there's a lot of the waterways and, let's just like rent some kayaks. I mean, we could take a tour, but also, we know how to kayak. I was with my former partner. So let's, do something that's physically active, but it's like sightseeing, but, you're not sitting on a double-decker bus, driving around London. And maybe if you're out walking, take a cycling tour. I've done 2 different running tours, actually, where it was myself and the guide. Like we were running around Bucharest and it was like a private tour, but we happened to be running. But you get to see a lot more. You cover a lot more ground that way. But yeah, doing something that might be a little bit different, but actually very unique to that area. When I was in Banff in Canada, I knew I wanted to do some hiking, but I tried Via Ferrata for the first time. Do you know what Via Ferrata is? Okay.
Yeah, the sort of the fixed lines.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think outdoor rock climbing scares me a little bit, just because there's a lot more problem solving. It's a bit more unpredictable. But I absolutely love Via Ferrata, the climbing. It's super fun. And so that's something that I can't do if I was in Central Jersey. There's no mountains on the climb on the side. Yeah. And so I think that can be one of those pieces that whether it's an activity you might do at home, if it's an activity that's unique to that area, or just a way to really be exploring and sightseeing, that I think that's a really great way to bridge that gap. You don't have to lose your tourist time. You can be physically active and be moving, but you just get to do it in a different way. And I say, that those 2 things for fitness. And then I say, nutrition is the other piece that can be really tough. You go to a certain spot and you want to eat all the pasta and the gelato and I'm intrigued and I love sweets. I love sweets so much. I try and have like a sweet like every other day. At this co-working space where I am right now, they have baklava cheesecake and it is awesome. Oh my God, it's so good. Baklava and cheesecake, 2 of my favorite things. It's very good here. So I'd say that when it comes to nutrition, indulge in moderation and savor the flavor. Because if you, let's say, want to eat a piece of baklava cheesecake, maybe it's a big piece, maybe you cut it in half and you have half today and half tomorrow. So then it's like 2 treats instead of 1. But then if you take your time just to enjoy it, I know that you're, like myself, if you're the kind of person walking by all the different bakeries and you look through the glass window and everything looks good. And maybe I had a pastry for breakfast this morning and, I really want another one. And, there's always going to be things you want to try with food, sights you want to see, and you're just not going to be able to see them all. So I think part of that is learning how to, as you're an adult throughout life, just curb that FOMO. But not saying no, but not saying yes to everything. But just it's indulging, but keep a lid on it a little. That could be a great balance to find, because that's also really hard when you're abroad. Besides fitness and exercise, is the nutrition is probably like the bigger piece. I've started to cook a lot. Yeah, but like I know it could be tough depending on where you are and what your schedule is. So yeah. But I've found that like as I've traveled a lot, I've had to learn a lot of different strategies
Of course, it sounds like, hashtag first world problems. I have to cut my cheesecake in half, and save it over 2 days. But I mean, it can be tough, I mean, it's the part of the reality. And, it's a big difference between traveling, like you said, like you did for 4 months versus 2 weeks where you feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm only, in these 1 or 2 countries or whatever it is for 2 weeks. Like I want to try every local thing. I want to sample all the things, and food, of course, is a big part of travel. So, I think we've all been there where we've, all overindulged in sampling the local flavors. But I hear you. Moderation, of course, can be super helpful. My latest indulgence is chocolate milk, because my theory is that I had a sip of chocolate milk before this podcast. I was just like, well, if I just have a couple sips of chocolate milk, maybe I won't eat a treat every day. That'll just be in just enough sugar to give me my thing. Anyway, that's my own personal struggle. We don't need to get into that. I want to get into this list, these epic fitness adventures. And I you know what? This is for beginners to seasoned athletes, but also I feel like, we could call this fitness adventures, but we could also, I think, just as easily say, active travel, if you will, depending on what term feels more comfortable to you. Because I feel like, well, this is another question that I have. We can answer it on the back end of the list if you'd like. But, when you're using terms like I saw you use the term on your website, runcation. And I wonder if that matters when you're planning, if you're like, that sounds like something, like a fitness, like somebody that's really into fitness would plan, as opposed to maybe like I'm into fitness. I like to go to the gym and try to stay fit and all that, but I more resonate with this idea of active travel, like getting out and, okay, I could go for a hike today. I can do this. I can do that. Like you said, you're like sightseeing, but you're moving your body. And, although you could call it one or the other, I think the labels kind of matter, because for me, like going on a runcation, and if I didn't run enough, I would feel like I was letting myself down, as opposed to if I just showed up somewhere and it's like, oh, I'm just going to go for a run and explore the city this way.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I think, especially since I think how we label things, or how we maybe even label ourselves, like identity, can be a very strong sense of emotion that comes with it. So for example, like with running, if someone's like, yeah, I just want to go on some casual runs. And like, I think active travel is a great way to call it. When thinking about something like a runcation, it could be maybe for someone who, if they don't run very often, it could be kind of like a big deal for them. Or actually the whole reason why I ended up naming my company Heidi Runs Abroad. It's funny now because I'm running away to Europe, but that's not the real reason behind it. It was actually because I ran a marathon in Norway. It was actually the Midnight Sun Marathon up in Tromsø. And I planned the whole trip around that marathon. I knew for several years I wanted to run a full marathon. I'd done some halves. A full marathon is going to be a lot harder. It was like a second job training for it. And so I went to Google. I was like, where are the coolest marathons in the world? And I ended up coming across this one. And for various reasons, I picked that one. The terrain is pretty flat. It's a destination. I'd never been to Norway before. And then also is the two cool factors of it happens at night, but it has the midnight sun, the 24/7 daylight. And I was like, oh, awesome. That's super cool. And so for me, like I'd say sometimes with maybe like a label, it can feel more of like a big deal, like a big celebration of your training or something your body can do, something maybe you thought you couldn't achieve before. So I think it really kind of depends. Like maybe if someone is like, I'm going to go to some place in particular because I want to sign up for a certain race or do some runs in that area to really explore. And maybe that can be a bit more of a motivator for them if that's something they call it. But I think a lot of folks, definitely resonate with like active travel. Like it's just a bit more general, a little bit more casual, and I'm just trying to move a little bit more when I'm on vacation. Yeah. I love that.
I think you nailed something great there, because that, like my neighbor did that. They had the New York City Marathon as their bucket list. And so they're like, well, we're going to New York. We booked flights to New York. We have a hotel. This is part of our, we got married this year. This is like one of the gifts we're giving ourselves. And I think that's true for, I can only speak for myself, but although I go to the gym and things like that, I often have to drag myself. It's not like my natural instinct to be like, whoa, go on, let's get my running shoes on. I'm going to head, it's just like, it's a bit of a struggle, but I do it because it's just, I know it's good for me. And once I get
That's
out, I'm
most
all
people.
good. Yeah. But this idea of, if you have a bigger goal and you're like, oh, I'd love to do that, but it's just, I'm not, I need the extra motivation. Combining it with travel with this audience and saying like you did, like, I'm going to run a marathon under the midnight sun in Norway. Like that's freaking epic, And then so, you're excited, you're motivated, and how, you have all this accountability built in because you're booking this trip and spending all this money to go. How are you not going to like go for it with the marathon? Like, it's just like, it's going to make you kind of go all in. And that's, there is something to that. I think when you're combining travel with something like this, I think that can be super helpful. But let's get into the list. I imagine as we go through this, we're going to hear some of your favorite off the beaten path destinations for fitness or well-being or active travel or whatever you want to label it. Yeah. Give us kind of the overview and how you structured this list and what, a little bit of context, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 7. I have 3 honorable mentions. If there's time for that. Yes. And so I'd say
love those.
7, I was thinking about it recently, and at first I'd say, I don't think I would rank them in any particular way, but I will rank my number 1 because I stand by it. It is actually one that I have done. 3 of them I've done, 4 of them I have not, but now they're actually on my list. I tried to think of a variable amount of how many days it might take, how strenuous it might be. If you have to really, does the average person maybe have to train for it, or maybe they can more or less show up and enjoy it, and also including a variety, so it's not just 7 that are just hiking. So try to have a variety.
That sounds awesome, Heidi.
Yes, I'm
excited. All right. So maybe you can just off the cuff as we go through. You mentioned the strenuous factor. After you share it, maybe you can give us your like 1 to 5 rating in terms of how strenuous you would say it is. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's dive in. I can't wait to get to your number 1.
Okay, so I'll finish with my number 1. So the others I'd say are in no particular order offhand. So I'd say, so number 7, going back 7 to 1, I put hiking the Inca Trail. When I was thinking about off the beaten path versus things that are very popular and touristy, I was being pulled in a few different directions for ones that are very popular. I have not hiked the Inca Trail. I have been up to Machu Picchu. I did take the bus, the switchbacks up, but I did hike down a little bit, and it is quite strenuous. And so I put that one on there because when I think about even my own experience of being there, going to the Sun Gate and watching the sunrise, for folks who are not familiar, if you're hiking up the Inca Trail, when you get to the Sun Gate, that's where you get up and over, where you can first look down and see Machu Picchu. And when I think about how I was up there at the Sun Gate and I could look down and see Machu Picchu, and I could see hikers coming up through the Sun Gate. Yay, congrats, you made it. They're huffing and puffing. Oh, you're awesome. Yay. They look so tired. They're booking to get up there so they could get there by sunrise. And when you think about this, not only this incredible site that people travel to, but I think the idea of hiking all the way up there, you get a whole different perspective of why is this up here? I think it's one thing to go up and to visit, but then the fact that it almost feels so wildly out of place. And the ruins, the structure is just absolutely incredible. And so I think if you are busting your butt to go up there, that if out of all of the things on my list, that is one of the more traditional touristy ones. But I think that out of all the ones I could think of, that I would put that one on the list.
It's epic. Standing there and looking at Machu Picchu, it's epic. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people go. There are sort of some more off the beaten path trails to the actual ruins you can take. But yeah, I love it. All right.
Yeah.
All right, give us your next one.
Okay. So the next one, I had mentioned I've done Via Ferrata 4. So Via Ferrata, the highest one is in Malaysia, which when looking at it, it is at a very high elevation. You get to be like above the clouds. It does look pretty wild being on the cliffs. For folks, if you're not quite as familiar with Via Ferrata, yes, like sometimes there might be suspension bridges. A lot of times people picture the iron rungs that are built into the cliffside, where you might be walking across them, you might be climbing up them like a ladder. What I love about Via Ferrata, I will say, in comparison to outdoor rock climbing, it's a lot more accessible because professionals designed this route. They tell you basically exactly where to put your foot, where to put your hand. Whereas with outdoor climbing, you're kind of looking up and try to find a crack and a ledge and such. And so you still get these insane views from the cliffside of a mountain. For this one, I was looking at some of the photos. You get to look down into the rainforest that's also below. And so I think when it comes to Via Ferratas, there's a lot in the world. I know Switzerland has some good ones. I did one in Kosovo, actually. I specifically went there because I could do it unguided. So I just had a harness. I was by myself. That's another thing, is that you don't necessarily, the concept, if you're familiar with how to do it and you feel safe, you don't necessarily need a guide because you just follow the trail, more or less. You're not really going to get lost. But I think for people who like to go hiking and have never really tried climbing before, that this could be something that's a very adrenaline pumping, gives you fantastic views, and you're still up in the mountain area.
Okay. Yeah. It's like rock climbing light, but also you're getting the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Are you actually hooking in when you're doing Via Ferrata? Do you have a harness?
You are.
And,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You have the helmet, you have the harness, you have the 2 clips. So they make sure that you know properly how to clip in and out. So that way you're always attached to the rock face.
Right. Okay. Very good. Cool. I love that you're including Via Ferrata and just, if people are still like, what is Via Ferrata? And they're listening. Yeah, it's exactly what you described. It's fixed lines up a mountain or some steep area. You can imagine, like you said, iron ring ladders or like places you can hold on and kind of like climb up steep areas. It's sort of all fixed in a way. So it's the best way to, I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but hopefully you're getting the visual picture.
Yeah. It's like climbing, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's like obstacles, but like, there's these attachments where you know exactly where you're supposed to put your hands and your feet.
Yeah. If your interest is piqued and you search around, you can see some of the pictures. Yeah. Online.
Yeah.
Some of the,
All right. So I wanted to include a water sport. So I did put kayaking. I put glacier kayaking in Greenland. When I think about being out on the water, different places in the world, different countries. I've seen Greenland pop up recently, I think within the past year, like, oh, that's another top destination coming up. So there's some interest in Greenland. But I think kayaking, I did do kayaking under the midnight sun when I was in Tromsø, and that was really awesome. But I think if you're going to be out on the water, what are some cool things you can see out there? And the first thing that came to mind is glaciers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Now, back to the show. All right, number 4.
All right, so I did mention Midnight Sun. I will say, so the one that I did do, I would put down the Midnight Sun Marathon. When I think about fitness feats, and especially ones where you do have to train something that is more challenging, if anyone is ever interested in running a full marathon, I had someone ask me recently, a former colleague, she just ran her first half marathon. She posted on Facebook, hey, for folks that have done a full marathon, is it that much harder? Like, is it a lot harder? Yes, it's so much harder. Oh my gosh, it's so much harder. I mentioned before, it felt like a second job. It really did. Like, my entire Sunday was devoted to a long run. I would make sure I get enough sleep, make sure I have the proper breakfast, the proper lunch. I stretch and warm up thoroughly, run for a few hours, stretch a lot, eat a lot, sleep a lot. Like, that was my entire day, for training for like 3 months. And so for the Midnight Sun, there's a lot of really cool marathons in the world. But I found that the sights were so beautiful, just the scenery, getting to see, there's the water and the bridge and the mountains. And I love the fact that this particular marathon is flat. I'd say the terrain is very flat. There's some that would be quite hilly. And so when thinking about if someone's interested in running a marathon, the Great Wall of China has a marathon, but maybe if you're super hardcore and that's not your first one, I think that having, you want to think about the altitude, the terrain. And so I feel like that this is a great one. Folks maybe haven't gone up above the Arctic Circle, and the midnight sun is such a cool experience. I know a lot of folks beforehand. I had never heard of the midnight sun. I'd heard of the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis. But when thinking about where you can go to see certain natural phenomena, that one is so energizing. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m. If you're looking at the sun, it's like setting, but it's a golden hour, but then it just stays golden hour and then it just gets light again. It is incredible. And I think the fact that it's so energizing is fascinating. Yeah. So I put that one on there.
Oh, that's awesome. And you're giving people an excuse to maybe come through Oslo. So then we could grab a coffee or something.
Yes.
No, that's great. I'd never heard of this. And, there is something I will say, the Norwegian air is very fresh. So you have that going for you too when you're out there soaking up that delicious Norwegian air. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
By the way, we'll link up to that website. It's msm.no for the Midnight Sun Marathon, msm.no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Going back to hiking. So this one I have also done the Peaks of the Balkans Trail. So on my 4.5-month trip, I ended up featuring this multi-day hike. I saw it randomly in a travel blog the year before. I had it pinned on my to-do list. One day I would tackle. It's like 9 days of hiking. It's like 10 days. The first day is just kind of getting there. And so I was like, I'm going to do these 10 days. I didn't end up doing all of them. I ended up doing 6 days of hiking. I ended up getting a little bit sick. There's a really, really bad storm when I was at like the highest elevation. And I made it through a couple of other days, but then I had to call it. So the Peaks of the Balkans Trail, what makes it really awesome, 2 different reasons. One, it gets you to go through 3 different countries. You are in Albania, you cross into Kosovo and Montenegro, you flew back into Albania. And the border crossings, you do need to make sure you have your border permits in case anyone's there and asks for them. But you don't need to show your passport. Your passport does not get stamped. You're literally hiking on the trail. I remember using my Maps.me app, and I could see the border was coming up. And I get to the dotted line, and I'm looking around on the trail. There's like no one else around. There's 2 big rocks. I think that just kind of indicate they had some painting on them, some markings on them. I think this is the border crossing. Literally just walk into another country. And that happens multiple times throughout the trail. And so I think it's so fascinating that you could just be walking and all of a sudden you're in another country. And then you loop back around. Yeah, that's really cool. And the views are awesome. Everyone, when they would see my pictures when I did this hike, are you in Switzerland? It looks so pretty. You get the Switzerland views, but it's not touristy and it does not cost as much. And yeah, you can do it for as many days as you want. A lot of people will do just the first 2 days. So you start in Shkodër, Albania, and then you get a ride up to Tef. And there's some waterfalls, and so you can hike out and back. And then a lot of people that hike to Valbo, which is a really nice hike. You get to go up and across over a ridge and get some really fantastic views. And then most people might just do that in a weekend. But if you want to keep going, on the 3rd day, you keep going, and that's where the crowds disappear. If there are any other people that are around, I saw a lot of people here and there. I went during like more the peak time, right at the end of August. And so if you see, some folks, the 3rd day, I saw, I think maybe 10 people over the course of 9.5 hours. Oh, and I was by myself. Oh, yeah. And another thing that was cool about this, I ended up finding this self-guided tour company. So there's a tour company. You can have a guide, you can have a group, but they also have an option to do it self-guided. So I had the tour company lay out all of the logistics. They booked all of the guest houses for me. They gave me all of the directions in the map, but I had to show up and, okay, you started this guest house. Okay, Heidi, by yourself, go walk to point B. I did all the hiking. I get there. At the guest house, they had my reservation. They gave me dinner. They got me breakfast in the morning. They packed my lunch. Okay, Heidi, go walk to Boise. And so it was really cool.
That's so
and
cool.
so, yeah,
This sounds amazing.
I liked that. Yeah, I'd say that you can, in a lot of different circumstances, whether you choose to go with a guide, more of a private tour, more of a big group, if you want to do something by yourself, but with extra support, or if you just want to plan everything, I'd like that. There's a lot of different opportunities to do certain adventures, but with some different levels of support.
This is so cool. I've never heard of it. I just bookmarked it for my bucket list. Bookmark tab, peaks of the Balkans.com. Can you give people just an idea roughly of, I know there's different ranges, like you said, but how much were you paying for like this, all these logistics to be taken care of? Do you remember?
I think, it was a couple of years ago when I booked it. If I remember correctly, I think I maybe paid the company like 200 euros to do everything. I know the guest houses, so I paid some money up front, but then I also showed up and I paid cash in person. I think for each guest house, maybe it was about 25, 30 euros, I think, roughly. And that was to stay there. And it was all 3 meals. It was the dinner, the breakfast, and the packed lunch. I felt like it was very affordable. This is also when I was like, I quit my job and I should be paying attention to money. Where as someone did this. Yeah. I love doing that one.
Yeah, love it. These are great recommendations. All right, we got 2 left.
2 left.
Creeping up on your number 1.
Yes. So the next one, Son Doong Cave. So there is the largest cave in Vietnam. So as of right now, this is cited to be the largest cave in the world. It's located in Vietnam. It's in between Hoi An and Hanoi. So Vietnam's very long. So I'm not sure if it's technically in the northern part or maybe at the upper edge of the central part of Vietnam, but it's kind of right around that threshold. And so I came across, I was in Vietnam recently. I did not end up doing it, mostly just because you have to go with a tour company. I think there might only be one tour company that will do the tours there. And it is 6 days, 5 nights. And so it is a long expedition. I happened to come across a video a few days ago. It popped up for me. It was a very well done video. I'll have to see if I can find it and send it to you, where it was showing all of the different views, explaining the experience. If I recall correctly, you have to hike like a full day just to get to the cave before this cave. And so it just even trekking out there, I think it's multiple days when you're inside this cave. And what is so fascinating about it is when you get inside the largest cave, just the ecosystem that it has. It is otherworldly. Like when watching this video, I'm like, it looks like there could be dinosaurs. Maybe they film a movie here, there'd be dinosaurs. Like there's a rainforest inside. There's apparently monkeys inside this rainforest, inside this cave. There's fog and clouds and such that filter through. At some points you're walking through some water. You got to be careful of leeches. I saw that. I was like, oh, no, yeah. I put it on my list. I want to do it. But yeah, it seems so interesting. So I'd say that length-wise, duration-wise, it is a larger time commitment. But I'd say, based on, strenuous activity, that it's not like you're climbing up and down mountains for multiple days. But that one seems very fascinating. I think it was only a little bit before. It was 2013, I think, when they, if I recall correctly, like the Guinness Book of World Records, they officially establishes like the largest cave in the world. So it was only discovered shortly before that. I can't even imagine the cool factors of being there and wondering, are there even animals here or insects and bugs that maybe people have just never seen before? So if you want to go to some place that is very undiscovered, it seems like that's a really good place to go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. What an epic list. Living up to its name.
Yeah.
All right. What you got for our last one?
Number 1, I will put the one that I've done. So the overnight volcano hike, Acatenango in Guatemala. And really just because I would put that on everyone's list. It is a bit tough. It is very steep going up. It's hard on the knees going down. You get to see in the distance another volcano erupting like all the time. Like there's the volcano Fuego in the distance. You're climbing Acatenango, and the volcano fuego in the distance, every 20, 30 minutes, it's erupting. So you get to see smoke coming from this volcano. You're climbing and you look in the distance, and especially when you get up to base camp, so you'd want to do it with a tour. You get up to base camp and you just have views of this volcano that is erupting in the distance. At night, you see the lava. You can also, some tours will have you climb down Acatenango, start to go up onto part of Fuego, still at a safe distance. You can technically be on that volcano. You get a little bit closer. It's an extra like 4 or 5 hours of hiking, which is very difficult. And it is really, really cool. Let alone then you wake up at 4 a.m., you hike to the top of Acatenango for the summit, and you're up there for sunrise. And again, you still see this volcano erupting in the distance. And so reason why I put that as number one is I think out of all of the different, I'd say natural things happening on Earth, a volcano erupting, very dangerous, but the fact that you can, it's basically like guaranteed that you're going to be seeing this happening. It's constant, literally. It's sincerely like every like half an hour, it's erupting. And the fact that you could do so at a safe distance, otherwise they wouldn't have groups going up. They're always monitoring the volcanoes. And being up there for sunrise is one of the best sunrises I have ever experienced. You just get to sit there and it's this mixture of, you feel this peace and calm, this serenity, I'd say, being up there, just watching the sunrise, being at a high elevation above the clouds. And then off in the distance, you just see this and you're like, when am I ever going to see something like this again in my life? Yeah. So that one I'd recommend for everybody.
I mean, anything that makes you say, when am I ever going to see this again in my life? I can understand why you put it up there. Yeah. Something magical about being around volcanoes too, man. Witnessing, of course, it's awe-inspiring, the power, and also watching like Earth literally being created right before your eyes. It's wild. I would say, all right, that we can wrap it up or whatever. I don't want to steal too much of your time, but you said you had 3 honorable mentions.
I did. I know.
I don't want to miss out on some more travel recommendations for people. Do you want to give them to us in a quick hit list?
Yes, quick hits. I put Great Wall of China. When I think about places I have yet to go, I know there's a lot of, fantastic things, like even in China. But when I was just skimming through different photos, what I like about this one, adding it into the list, again, for variety and accessibility, it is a lot of stairs. There's walking. So, but, when thinking about you can do it at your own pace, you can still get like the great views. I think there's something really fascinating. I feel like I keep using that word. There's something awesome about being in the middle of, this environment, all the greenery and such around it, and you just have this monumental structure, and how much it took to create that. So I put Great Wall of China on there. Scuba diving in Honduras. When I've done some research, I know Australia got the Great Barrier Reef. And when I was, at one point I was looking into if I'd want to get scuba diving certified, which I realized last summer I tried it, and I'm terrified. And it's okay. I don't need to do that ever in my life. So this one, I don't think I'm ever going to actually do. But in Honduras, they, from what I was looking up on my research, that they have the second best barrier reef in the world. And so if you, I think, stay in the touristy areas, that you'll be in a good place. And, oh man, I am biased. I'm going to list something from Bulgaria. So the Conchado Ridge hike. So in Bulgaria, if you go to Vihrin Peak, which is a very high peak in Bulgaria, my partner and I did this. Specifically, I would recommend doing it at night. We did this on accident. We did not mean to get such a late start. There was a road closure. We were delayed. And so we hiked up to this high peak. We were there for sunset. Different peak. We had to then climb down. There's like some chains. Maybe you don't need them, but you had to hike down, hike up again, and then you go across this ridge. There's a shelter there. I think in the Balkans, it's like the best shelter where they have that for hikers. It's just a place to crash. And so we knew we were going to get there, and he had his headlamp. I had lost mine in Serbia. I was using my flashlight on my phone. And it's dark by the time we're going across this ridge, where at some point I'm looking out, there's just this chain I see. And there's this narrow stretch that goes out into the darkness. And I'm like, what is this? And like, we start going through it and I'm like, how long does this go? And I actually, he sent me a video several weeks later of a drone going over this ridge in the daylight. I watched this video. That's what we did. It looked scarier in the daylight. We had fantastic weather. The moonlight was great. There were no clouds, no wind. It was awesome. But while we were doing it, I said, I think this is one of the craziest things I've ever done. Is this dangerous? I'm like, is this dangerous? Yeah, so I'd say the Couchsurfing Ridge in Bulgaria, but specifically doing it at nights, I thought was really epic.
Nice. Yeah, nighttime with a good moon type of hike thing is always a nice thing. If you're asking, is this dangerous? It probably is dangerous. You generally speaking.
Yes. I really want to do it. I said we need to go do this in the daylight because I'm curious if it's scarier in the daytime. No, we should explore many other things. He doesn't like going back and repeating things. Yeah, but I really want to go do it in the daylight. But that was very cool. And very personally, like I felt very safe when doing it. I felt like, it is kind of, I think they call it like if you're hiking, it's kind of like a knife's edge or something like that, but like a ridge. It is very steep. You want to make sure you're very careful. But I felt like with the chain there, I felt very safe the entire time doing it. It was very crazy cool.
So this is inspiration for people. Just to kind of summarize this, I think to put a bow on this episode, you have something called a fitness bucket list. And I think if that's something people want to build for themselves and listening, whether it's like an active travel bucket list or again, back to the labels, whatever you want to call it, I always encourage people when they're travel planning, especially for younger people, like you don't have your young body forever. So when you're prioritizing your bucket list, your live list, somebody that came on once was they have a live list. They don't like the bucket list. Whether you like that term or you hate it, you're trying to figure out where you're going to go. It doesn't matter. What does matter is how you prioritize it. And I always encourage people to prioritize these types of adventures because they only get harder as you get older. And, I'm glad that I got to hike Machu Picchu I don't remember what it was. Must have been in my 20s. As opposed to if I had a go now, of course I could still do it. I would imagine, but again, you have your body at different ages. Everybody's body's different, but of course, generally speaking, it's easier to kind of do crazier adventures when you're younger. So prioritize those and make your own fitness or active travel bucket list. And I think that can be a good sort of call to action for people coming out of this. Has having the fitness bucket list helped you sort of organize and prioritize your travel planning?
Yeah. Even just recently, actually, I'd been needing a new one to have in the near future. So this was actually a very helpful exercise and activity for me to do to make the list. The last one was when I was over the summer when I went to Kosovo. I wanted to do a Via Ferrata unguided and specifically not a beginner's level. There are some different levels. And so I was doing a moderate one. They have a difficult one there. The moderate one was plenty. Which was really neat. I definitely feel like right now, since I've been traveling to just kind of get out of the Schengen zone, I have mostly been traveling more or less because I kind of need to. So I'm really excited for when I have my home base fully established, living full time in Sofia, where then when I'm looking at, okay, all right, where do I want to go? When do I want to go? Planning something for the sake of I'm going to go out and do something very specific, for me right now, that I'm looking forward to, which is going to be like the next one from the list I'm going to pull and do.
Nice. Awesome. And if people want to check out your work, of course, HeidiRunsAbroad.com will link up to it. I know you do some variety of things there, including physical wellness coaching geared towards what you call routine disrupted travelers, which is, almost every traveler, I think. Our routines are totally whacked out. What anything else you want to share around what you do and where people can find you? Go for it.
Yeah. So I hopefully in the near future I should be like officially publishing my page for my wellness coaching. I do virtual yoga. So for folks that want to try yoga, I take on private clients, and so I say flexible when it comes to wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in. I'm sure we can make it work. And then I have my blog, and also I have my newsletter. So I have my newsletter. I call it the Monday Momentum, that goes out every 2 Mondays. And so every other week, and I always put different travel inspiration, some different tips on like fitness and nutrition and wellness. I'd say my general musings of where I'm at in life and things on my mind. And I'm a very big, I'd say sharer, but I'm an oversharer. And so I really love getting to speak out into existence to whomever might be listening, and just getting some conversations going about, I'd say, wellness and anything travel related. And I absolutely love. You said use like a passion nation. That's my jam. I absolutely love this. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on everything you've managed to do with your own relocation abroad and building up your business and everything like that. And then, of course, we appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge in this fun list that I think gives us a lot of travel inspiration, and definitely some things here. I've literally already texted my wife the peaks of the Balkans Trail and the Midnight Sun Marathon, which I've never run a marathon before, but if I was ever going to do one, that would be a pretty cool way to do it. Anybody else out there? We're looking for some accountability buddies, get in touch. Maybe it's a next year thing. Who knows? Feel free to reach out like Heidi did. If you're listening, you feel like you could provide value to the community. I so appreciate, Heidi, that you reached out and we got to trade emails and I got to kind of dive and see what you do. And then you took your time to come on and share your professional knowledge around fitness and travel and everything. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we'll stay in touch. Chat soon.
Sounds good. Cool. Thank
All
you.
right. All right. Cheers.
Ciao.
There you have it. That was a fun one. Thank you to Heidi once again for stopping by the show. HeidiRunsAbroad.com is the website. Before I let you go, a couple things. I did promise to share my ultimate travel blunder that I made recently, and this is truly a PSA for you in case you make this mistake. I can't believe I made this mistake, actually. I was in shock when I realized I had made this mistake. Have you ever just seen something and you just you can't actually believe, your brain can't process what your eyes are seeing and you're like, no, this can't be right. Something must be wrong. I always say this too to my kids when I'm trying to teach them about, little travel tricks or things I've learned over the years. I always say, you know what? It almost doesn't matter. Yeah, you could forget your suitcase. You could forget, your warm jacket. You could forget almost everything. But one thing you need to get to another country is your passport. You need a valid passport. Well, guess what I did? I took this trip to Poland with my daughter. I didn't pay attention to the expiration date on her passport. And the day before, when I went to check in, I saw that her passport had expired and I couldn't believe it. I was so upset. I was distraught. I was in shock. This is the ultimate travel blunder. It truly is. You can forget almost everything else besides a valid passport. So luckily, my saving grace was that my kids have 2 passports because I'm a Norwegian citizen. I live in Norway. They're Norwegian, but they also have a U.S. passport. And so thankfully, we went to the airport early. Turns out, by the way, that there is a police station at the airport for just this scenario if you need an emergency passport. And I'm not sure if that's true at every airport, but just a travel tip for you if you end up in this situation. I hope you don't. You might want to check and see if there's a police station at your airport where you can get a temporary passport for your trip. This must happen all the time. And, they charge you a pretty penny for it, but you can get one. So that was my backup plan. But thankfully, they allowed her to travel on the U.S. passport, no problem. But I still couldn't believe it. And this just demonstrates I never thought of myself as a quote unquote travel expert. I'm just a guy who started a podcast, who traveled a lot, who loves travel and wanted to talk to other people who love travel and had some things to share with this community and share stories and share advice and share perspectives. This just goes to show, you could work in an industry your whole life and still make mistakes. I mean, I've been traveling for so long. so many years out on the road, nomadic for a decade plus. I've made all the travel mistakes. And guess what? I'm still making them. So you're going to make mistakes in anything that you do. You got to forgive yourself and move on, which was really tough for me on this one, actually. Not because of my ego or because I thought, well, I work in travel. I mean, there was a little bit of that. Like, how did I miss this? This is the ultimate travel blunder. But I just didn't want to disappoint my daughter. I was like, if I can't go on this trip, we've been talking about this. It was a trip I was taking with just me and her. We were going to spend all this time together. I had it blocked out. And I was just petrified that we weren't going to be able to do it. How disappointing that would have been for me and especially for her. So thankfully, we were able to pull it off. And yes, I do have an appointment to renew her passport. So anyway, public service announcement there. Make sure your passport's up to date, and it has to be 6 months up to date. Like if you're traveling and you're within a 6 month of it expiring, that's not going to work. So make sure your passport's up to date. Okay. Now, I'll leave you with a quote on movement, being in motion. And it's this: consciousness is only possible through change. Change is only possible through movement. That is Aldous Huxley. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by ZeroToTravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.